question I was going to ask you is,
نعم.
in Dardir's quote,
yeah,
in Sharo Saghir or even Sharo Kabir,
yeah,
the difference between niqab and satr al-wajh.
right,
Have you
okay.
paid attention to any of the differences between the usage of the term niqab and satr al-wajh?
Okay, I mean, what would you be kind of alluding to? What type of differences are we speaking about?
No, like, do you distinguish between the two of them? From in the Maliki Fiqh books, for example, if you go into basically any commentary, Muqtasar Khir, whether it's Adawi, whether it's Shar Kabir, whether it's Shar Saghir, even what's the other one? The one of Al Amir.
Okay.
If you see Intiqab al Mar'a comes a few pages later. When you go back, you see the Mas'ala of Wujub Satr al-Wajh.
In what book are you referring to?
Yeah, so when you go four or 5 pages back,
in Dardir's.
Yeah, Dardir, any commentary, because the Mas'ala is going to be discussed there. Satr al-Awra, and then when you turn a couple pages, then you're going to get the Intiqab al-Mar'a fi Salah.
Okay, so what distinction are you kind of highlighting?
I'm asking you, like, the distinction. Have you ever do you recognize any distinction between the two? Because,
I mean, the thing is that usually where you will get they will discuss the mas'ala of intiqab as like what they call, talthim, where you will be kind of where the woman will be kind of covering over her nose and kind of leaving the eyes, and there's the kind of niqab as we have it now. They will usually discuss that in either like the awra section, or especially in the salah, as Dardir and the Suqi and other people have kind of highlighted. Now, then where people have said things like if there is fitna, where some ulama have kind of highlighted that, and they've said wa yustar al-wajh in al fitna, or if there was fitna and stuff like this. If that's the distinction that you mean, is that the distinction that you mean? Or
no, I'm referring to the distinction of the fact, you see, when you look at the illa, for example, Dardir Sheikh al-Suki mentions لأن لم يرد به السنة السمحة, right?
Okay.
He mentions that, and then he mentions that it's a bid'ah.
نعم.
Right? But
the Suki goes, I mean, they both mention it as ghulu fi din.
Yeah, now ghulu fi din. Now, why are they mentioning that as ghulu fi din is important? Like, okay, the asl of that kalam, before even the Maliki started to bring this, have you came across anywhere else where this illa is coming and why it's explained? Why?
I'll tell you who mentions it very well is also Shaykh Abul Hassan ibn Qattan al-Fasi in his Ahkam al-Nazar. He goes over the whole book is just based on awra and the whole thing about looking, and he as well, he'll go over all of these type of things and highlight these opinions and explain the same type of thing. It's that, you see, by default, that Maliki madhab by default doesn't recognize the face as part of the awra. Now, neither does the Hanafiya by default. Now, there's some differences amongst the Shafi'iyya, how they see things, in the Hanabila. But these two madhabs see that by default, the woman's face is not part of the awra. Now, what that means is that by Quran and Sunnah, it is not proven that she has to cover the face. And in fact, it's actually perhaps even proven the contrary. Now, where people then speak about saddan lidhara'i, like if there was fitna, now in that case, a woman should cover the face. Now, many ulama have said that. Many have. They've said that, look, if there's fitna and stuff like this, and obviously these are now safeguarding measures. The fact that they even highlight to if there is fitna demonstrates that they are recognizing that by the asl, this is not part of it.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly what it is. Now, so they say khawful fitna, which means dhann al fitna, right? So technically speaking, we wouldn't say if there is fitna, we would say if there's dhan, even if there's dhan that fitna would occur.
But they don't say that. If there's...
Yeah, this is khawf al-fitna, and
Yeah.
khawf al-usul is referring to dhan. Not because khawf, you're only fearing it. You're not saying it is. We don't say wuku' al-fitna.
You see, if that's the case, then you see that would contradict the hadith in Sahih Muslim about when the Prophet ﷺ is with Fadl and he's staring at the woman, and he keeps eyeing her up and down, up and down. He mentions in the hadith ثم صعد النظر and ثم صعد النظر, and he keeps going up and down looking at her, and the Prophet ﷺ just moves his face. And when they go, he says, and he questions the Prophet, why did you do that? And he says, well, I just feared that maybe the shaitan, I saw a shab and a shaba, and maybe that the shaitan would kind of play tricks with their minds. Now, if this was an obligation, then the Prophet would have clarified the point that this is actually haram, that since there's even khawf of wuqu' al-fitan, or that, like this element of this, like building on this dhan. I suppose, unless you mean... hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? But it just kept getting disconnected.
For some reason, the lights keep cutting out. I don't know exactly why. Okay, yeah, you're saying about the hadith of Fadl.
Yeah, but I mean, coming back to the point, that, you see, if what we're saying is that if there is fitna, and a person wishes to cover the face, like the woman covering the face or in the situation of fitna. I mean, there have been, obviously, many ulama have said that. Now, the thing would be, though, that would once again be restricted to certain things about what exactly we're talking about in terms of the fitna. And
but they've defined it, no?
Say that again, sorry.
They've defined what they're referring to when they refer to fitna.
I mean, what do you mean by what have they defined?
They've defined what they're referring to when they mention the term fitna.
Yeah.
In the fact that tumilul rijal ilayha, right? And then they put the opposite as those women in which there's no haja. So if we even read the kalam of Zuruf, what we understand is a girl who's shaba.
Yeah.
If she's a shaba, she's a young girl, then the khawf al-fitna is there because she's a shaba. But if she's ajuza or she's qa'ida, right, then there's no...
You see, but to be honest, like that now would obviously negate the whole... Oh, sorry, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? I think, I don't know if it's on your end.
No, it's my end. It must be doing something with electricity because it just keeps blanking out. Well, no, what were you saying?
So, sorry. So we're saying that, you see, the thing is that this, if we say that, look, this fitna of which they speak is mailur rijal or miyulur rijal ilahin, the thing is that the fact that men being attracted to women through their faces is a standard definition. I mean, men will always be attracted to women by looking at them. So this now negates the fact that, wait a minute, so through the ahadith where the Prophet ﷺ is speaking, because if this principle was to be general, as you're suggesting, then it would apply to almost every single situation.
Yeah, but you see, there's a difference because you see, like they split the women into shaba wa ajuza. We find this ahkam in our method in many different places.
But what I'm saying is that this would apply to almost every reasonably young woman. This would just apply to. So if we're following this distinction, which you're suggesting of the shaba, then that means that when the fact that the Prophet never stipulated this ever.
No, but see, now this is where the problem lies, because you see, that's one thing. You see, it's very difficult. One of the problems too is to make qiyas on later times with qiyas on the time of the Prophet ﷺ.
No, but we have nusus.
No, yeah, I get it. You have masseuse, but
Yeah.
the same would be said, for example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam
Yeah.
stipulated that, for example, don't prohibit your women from going out to the masjid.
Yeah.
But in spite of that's what's there, then we're going to have to accuse the Sahaba of making error because Umar radiallahu anhu prohibited the women from going to the masjid.
He didn't actually. He didn't. He didn't. He said that if it wasn't for this hadith, I would have.
Yeah.
So he didn't prevent them. And he only told his own wife not to. So he said that if it wasn't for this hadith, and even Aisha said that, if only the Prophet ﷺ knew what the women were up to. But this is her ijtihad compared to the nas of the Prophet ﷺ.
Okay, no, but you see, that's the difference, because what we're saying now is, what the ulama would say is that obviously, when we understand that when the Prophet ﷺ was ordered, when the Prophet ﷺ was giving those commands, right? Then we obviously understand that there were some shurut that were to be understood on implementing that sunnah. Just like, for example, Abu Hanifa prohibited the people from cutting the camels, right, because of the fact that he knew that the people weren't fulfilling the conditions. So, however the case is, the difficult thing for us to do is to go back and make istidlal.
No, but we have also text. So let's say, let me quote to you here. You see, here's from that one of the quotes from Imam Malik. سئل مالك على هل تأكل المرأة مع غير ذي محرم أو مع غلامها قال ليس في ذلك بأس. And then he mentions على وجه يعرف للمرأة أن تأكل معه من الرجال. And he says وقد تأكل المرأة مع زوجها ومع غيره ممن يؤكله. Then, following on from that, so Imam Malik speaking about Ibn al-Qattan al-Fasi also says هذا نص قوله وفيه إباحة إبدائها وجهها وكفيها ويديها للأجنبي إذ لا يتصور الأكل إلا هكذا. Then he follows on also quoting al-Baji, who says وقد that it remains على ظاهره وقال, this is Baji, إنه يقتضي أن نظر الرجال وجه المرأة وكفيها مباح, is actually mubah. So this is also, it follows on by saying وكذلك فهمه ابن عبد البر. You also see the same thing, that it's mubah for a man and a woman, for a man to look at the face and the hands of a woman. Also, quoting from...
That's the asl.
No, but they're speaking about in a situation where you're eating with them. And
so,
also, from the fatwa of Imam Malik, that she can sit with her husband's friends and eat. Then also he quotes استدل به إسماعيل القاضي لمذهبه وهو جواز بدو الوجه والكفين. And he says بما أجمع عليه من جواز بدو وجهها في الصلاة. And that's also his dalail that he brings as well. I'm not saying that some people...
Okay, but you remember that if you also come across in Ibn Abi Zayd's Kitab al-Jami', he mentions this mas'ala, and he says lil ajaiza.
What is
that? The mas'ala that Imam Malik is referring to is for ajaiza, meaning the woman who is old.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Because the thing is that it's very clear, the actual nas of the mas'ala is clear, مع غير ذي محرم or مع الغلام, or that she eats with the husband's friends, or ممن يؤكله, who sits with her. And then he goes on to mention ويكره للمرأة أن تخلو مع رجل ليس بينه وبينها حرمة.
Yeah.
Now, to say that, you see, if Imam Malik was referring to the ajais, think about it. Now he's being asked a question as clear as this. Apart from the fact that this follows on with many of the ulama, major ulama of the madhab like Baji and Ibn Abdul Bar actually endorsing it also. So it's not just a clear fatwa taken out of context with nobody commenting. Ibn Qattan al-Fasi actually goes on to say later on, he will say that the fact that, you see, because this is another mas'ala, that one is, okay, she doesn't have to cover the face, one is looking at the face. He then highlights later on in the text as well that the fact that Allah has told them that they don't need to cover their faces, if you say looking at the face is forbidden, it is suggesting that Allah is indirectly doing kind of supporting muharramat. So he says, so therefore we clearly understand that looking at the face is permissible. Now, if a person felt himself that he should look away, then that's obviously up to him, and that's been transmitted from Qadi Iyad as well, who Mawaq transmits from him that it's up to...
Okay, now what you have to realize here is we know the protocol that applies to Ibn Mawaq, right?
No, I mean, regardless of the Ibn Mawaq's type of transmission.
No, because I'm saying Ibn Mawaq transmitted from Qadi Iyad that there's an ikhtilaf in regard to the mas'ala of Satr al-Wajh in the fitna. But when we read Qadi Iyad's kalam, Qadi Iyad is talking about the mas'ala when there's no fitna. Why? Because the asl ikhtilaf, which we all agree with, the asl ikhtilaf between us and some other madahib is the ikhtilaf whether or not the command of the hijab that was put upon the wives of the Prophet ﷺ also applies to the mu'minat in general. That's the asl ikhtilaf amongst the ulama.
Because the ulama have said, you see, like these ulama that I just quoted to you now, like Qadi Ismail, who says that it does not include this. Ibn Abdul Bar al-Baji
does include what?
The face. It does not include the face.
That's what I'm saying. The asl mas'ala, when you from the ayat of hijab, this is where the asl of the mas'ala starts. The mas'ala of hijab that comes down in the Quran. We know that it applies to the azwaj and mutaharat. We know that.
Yeah.
Then the ulama have ikhtilaf. Does this mas'ala go to apply to the mu'minat in general? And those that say it does will say because the illah is am. Because the illah says in order to purify you. So the illah would include the wives of the Prophet. That's not our view. That's the view of the people who hold that everything.
The thing is that exactly. The Malikiya say that it doesn't apply to like women. The face is not part of the aura. Yeah,
it's not aura. That's agreed upon, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's why when the ulama always mention when they talk about khawf al-fitna, they say they always add that ibara after that says وَلَوْ لَمْ يَكُنْ فِتْنَةً, even if it's not fitna, because the fact that it's not aura doesn't necessarily necessitate that it doesn't be covered because another illah. They always add that ibara at the end.
No, but who does? Because these people haven't, that I've said. Imam Malik's fatwa doesn't say that himself. Neither does Baji, neither does Ibn Abdul Bar, neither does Ismail al-Qadi. These are some of the most major ulama that have set foot in the madhab. Neither does, some of these other texts that we've been quoting.
Okay, but the mas'ala that we're discussing, they're not, this mas'ala that they're talking about isn't an application to fitna. How do we know that? If we look at...
So you're saying, like, generally, if any young woman, right, looking at her face would... most women, it would result in some type of male, or like people would find it reasonably of some attraction. Now, therefore, that would be a generic rule then. It wouldn't be an exception.
What I'm saying is, the rule that they mention is khawf al-fitna, and they refer to the mishaba. For example, Ahmed Zarruq. Ahmed Zarruq in his Waghlasiya mentions it, and he says that it's from the bala of our zamanina that the women go out uncovered. When he distinctively he distinctively split the mas'ala into, and that's what you find across the board, whether it's any commentary of the Muhtasirat or Risala, we say there's two types, meaning if there's no fitna, meaning she's older, then no. Then, we're not going to go to the extreme and say it's across the board. We say no. But in the case where it's...
No, but who is making this distinction?
Who's making this? Making what distinction?
This distinction of saying that this...
This was the position of Ibn Wahab. And we found all the later scholars. For example, when we go back...
It wasn't those that I've just quoted. And they're from the...
But what I'm saying to you is what you're mentioning is what other ulama have mentioned. They're not talking about the mas'ala fitna. They're talking about the general rule. For example, we will agree, after, if you have a copy of Mufhim, look what Al-Qurtubi says. After making naql of Qadi Iyad, making naql of him, and him agreeing to what Qadi Iyad said about the mas'ala of the asl not being binding, because this mas'ala that they're talking about is whether or not...
but then this is now going to be the opinion of some ulama versus the opinion of other ulama. But the asl they all agree upon is by Quran and Sunnah it is unordained.
Okay, but
now the rest is going to be some interpretations saying that, look, guys, I think, you know what, you should just do this anyway because there's going to be fitna.
But not necessarily, because the interpretation is obviously based on other nusus and nusul of the Malik method. For example, in the method of Imam Malik, the nas in our method of Imam Malik is that if you pray with something in your stomach and you're holding it back, then your prayer is invalid. That's the statement of Imam Malik. So if
but that's not necessarily like, because Imam Malik in the Mudawwana says that if but Imam Malik in the Mudawwana himself says, when he says وَهُوَ يُدَافِعُ الْأَخْبَثَانِ, he says that if it does not, he says إِن لَمْ يَشْغُلْهُ عَنِ الصَّلَاةِ, then it's okay. That's in the Mudawwana. And he says only if it takes his attention away from salah, that he no longer can concentrate on the salah, then his salah would be invalid.
But that's not the madhab. The madhab, that's why they made
No, but that would actually still be the madhab if you understand it like that.
No, but that's not how. No, because that's not how it came down to us. How it came down through the nusus. We understood it to be that in the case if it prohibits him from doing a wajib, then his prayer becomes invalid.
Yeah, because the thing is that, look, Imam Malik himself is saying that. Like, I mean, to me, it's reasonably clear in the Mudawwana where he's saying.
Okay, but the earlier ulama said ta'wil. They're making like the
I don't know. You see, if you're saying ta'wil in the sense of just clarification, I don't think it's a ta'wil in ba'id, because Imam Malik himself is saying that look, it doesn't invalidate the salah. He says, but if in yashghalhu an salah, the thing is, if it takes away arkan like itmi'nan, i'tidal, if it takes away the fact that you can't, no, I'm saying if.
Ishtighal, if a person becomes occupied in his mind and occupies him a lot.
Yeah, but this is now not a ta'wil, this is a clarification, isn't it? There's a difference between.
Called it a ta'wil.
I mean, okay, but that's okay, fair enough. That's besides the point here. But the thing is that, you see, also, you're going to, okay, for example, within the Maliki madhab, we also have things like the rulings when it comes to stuff like between the woman and her slave and stuff like this. She doesn't have to cover her hair. She doesn't have to do stuff like... I mean, you see, when you see Imam Malik's fatwa regarding the concept of hijab, they are, relatively speaking, much more relaxed than the other madhabs. His understanding of what this... and neither has he ever himself. In fact, his fatwa seem very clear in the sense that the woman doesn't cover the face. That's what it, the fatwa we have from the Imam himself, which fall in line with the Quran and Sunnah rulings as well.
Okay, then you see, that's another thing you have to keep in mind, because you see, if we put things into perspective, why he wouldn't talk about it, then if we talk about the position of the Malikis in regards to women coming out of their houses, they weren't going out except for dururi. You understand?
So who says that?
I mean, you can find that within Risale ibn Abi Zayd.
I mean, you find clearly in the books of hadith that the women were coming out. They were in the marketplaces. Even the fact that, I mean, you see, find several of these hadith.
But here's the difference now. That would be under the assumption that we have the ability to make istidlal from the primary sources without going through the mujtahideen of the method. Then we're taking upon ourselves to go back and prove a mas'ala correct.
No, but even like people like Abul Walid al-Baji, where he speaks about, like, for example, women leaving the home and do they need a mahram if they're going on a long journey and stuff like this. And he says that if a woman is going in a caravan, he says, وَأَمَّا الْقَوَافِلِ, he says that we don't, he says, to me, he says, he goes, if she's going in a caravan, she doesn't need to be with women nor men. She can be on her own. He says, وَهِيَ عِنْدِي كَالْبَلَدِ. Now that shows that the balad by default has no problem. And they weren't speaking. No, and that means women going out in the balad wasn't a problem anyway. Because he himself is saying that, look, if she goes in a caravan, this is no problem, because according to me, that is like the balad.
Because she's not becoming a traveler when you're moving with the balad.
But he's saying her going out on her own for a non-daruri thing. This isn't about daruriyat. Because he does mention, because the thing is, they're not speaking about, they've already discussed Hajj in it. When he's speaking about, can a woman go out? Because the Malikiyya agree that she can go out for things like to do Hajj in just a group. She doesn't need to. She doesn't need a mahram. So they're not discussing that. So he then goes further to highlight, well, what about in regular journeys? And what about without a mahram going far and wide? So he then highlights that point, saying that he says that if she was, he says that this was to do with the, you know, like any harm befalling her and stuff like this and so on. And then he says, but if she was fil qawafil, she was going in the qawafil, he says, and then he says, la ba's. He says she doesn't need to be, he says, she doesn't need to be with a rafaqa, ma'muna. Neither, he says, min rijalin aw nisa. And he says that this in the, he says, la ba's, and this is just the same as her going out into town. Now the point is that to take this, yeah, فهو عندي كالبلد.
How are we interpreting it's كالبلد?
The caravan.
No, but how are we saying, well, from what point of view is it like balad? Because we're not going to find the nusus that say a woman can just leisurely go out in public and just leisurely walk around. So
yeah, why not though? What would be the nusus to say it's haram?
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the nusus that we're going to find in for example, in hadith. I'm talking, what we're talking about here is fatwa in the Maliki school.
Yeah, but I mean,
say that a woman can go mutlaqan.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, look, the Malikiya are upon the madhab that generally, I mean, this is what has been promoted. Ibn Khuwaizmandad, many other ulama have stated that the madhab is that al-asl fil ashya' al-ibaha. Okay, now the thing is that and I know there's some khilaf, but that's what the general Maliki have gone with. Now the asl is that they will go out when and they've been going out ever since.
Why is that the asl? How is that the asl?
That is what they write in the books of usul, that is the asl.
That the asl is that women go out?
No, that the asl fil ashya' is ibaha.
Yeah, in things that aren't mansus alayhi.
No, but no, so the thing is, everything is mubah unless the texts make exemptions.
Okay, what I'm saying is amongst the Malikiyas, from the Maliki ulama, there hasn't been any prohibition from women going out of their house leisurely. That's what I'm saying. Mansus alayhi. Because at the end of the day,
there hasn't been any prohibitions.
What I'm saying, at the end of the day, if we're all going to go back to the nusus, then we're playing on the card of ijtihad after the fact that the senior ulamas of our method already spoke. So what I'm saying is we're going to...
let's take a look at where they... So for example, they comment on the hadith in Bukhari of Subayya and Abu Sanabil, where he goes to visit her. They comment on the ahadith of, what's his name, where the Prophet ﷺ is advising... is it Fatima bint Qais to do with staying at the house of Abdullah ibn Maktoum. First of all, he says Salma, then he mentions Abdullah ibn Maktoum and so on. When you look at all of these in these texts and other texts, they speak of the casual mixing. When you look at...
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Are we when we're talking about fatwa in light of the protocols of the Malikiyya?
Yeah.
For example, the protocols that the ulama
but the protocol is this, because Qadi Abu Bakr ibn Arabi, he says وَمِنْ أَصْلِ مَذْهَبِنَا, he says أَنَّنَا that we go to the sarih ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah, what I'm referring to is, okay, we have the degrees of ijtihad, right? I mean you have the mutlaq, then you have the mujtahid and madhab, and so on.
This isn't to do so much with ijtihad. You see, the thing is this.
No, but my point is coming to is if we're giving fatwa in the name of the Maliki madhab, right?
Yeah.
For argument's sake.
Yeah. Okay.
Then are we going to be bound to the protocols that came down to us? Yes or no? What I mean by protocols, meaning we can't deny that we fall under the lowest degree of scholarship. I mean, it's not something we can deny. Like, otherwise we're going to put ourselves up to the level of khalils and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is the protocols of fatwa that have come down and the means of transmission and what we rely upon for fatwa, you see, because...
is this... First of all, you're suggesting that this is like totally agreed upon, some type of set of rules that have come down. They haven't like this.
What I'm getting down to is... what are the works that are to be relied upon for fatwa as opposed to... Because you don't go back to hadith books for fatwa. You do as well. No, what I'm saying is we'll go there to draw some extra clarification and get more on the subject. But I mean, when we say, for example, an author...
Okay, what fatwa are you basing this on?
No, I'm asking you. What I'm saying is... when we just follow me,
because I don't mean the fatwa basing the fatwa on. I mean, what are you basing this on that women are not allowed to go out?
Oh, I mean, it's all over Muqtasar Khalil in every section. If you go to the Bab of Eid,
Right.
talking
Okay.
about the fact that women going out, the conditions for women going out to the masjid to pray.
But that's different. It's not talking about generally going out. It's talking about the congestion and the actual what people do on Eid. And people, ulama even discussed that today. I mean, the same thing. Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing that we're talking about. What people were doing in a masjid or in a musalla and the benefits that was having upon things like, or the harm upon other people who had gone to pray. It's very different to just generally going out. When we see things like, when you're going to look at things like the chapters of Iyada, visiting the ill, when you're going to look at things like just going out, the hajat, when you're going to, where are any of these fatwa from let's say beginning with the imam, coming right down, that we're basing this on? Because the asl fil ashya is that they can go. The Quran and Sunnah clearly demonstrates that the women used to go out. We in the school of Medina are taught that we take from the Sunnah. That is one of the things that we are known for. This is one of the things that Imam Malik constantly emphasized, and many of the people coming after him in the madhab clearly emphasized, we go to the Sunnah to take our dalail. Now, if
you mean to say that we're supposed to go back to the primary sources?
No, but like what I'm trying to say is, if you had, let's say you have all these fatwa of all these ulama speaking the contrary, then you can come and suggest that. You can then say, look, I've got a long list here of 25 names, of beginning with Imam Malik himself, going through all the top dons of the madhab, who have all agreed upon this matter. And now, why are you disagreeing with this? Because the madhab has stated this. And we don't see any difference. But what you're doing, you're not bringing any fatwa. You're bringing a fatwa to do with worship. Now, not to do with casual. And you're suggesting that the madhab is against this.
What do you mean by casual?
What you said, leisurely, like for leisurely activity, going out, that is not the same as worship. Because worship, the ulama have discussed this about should women be going to the masjid or not, as a different mas'ala in the sense of the pros and the cons for that. Generally going out, we see that the Quran and Sunnah doesn't prohibit it. We don't find fatwas in the madhab prohibiting it.
Outside of dururiyat, you mean?
Outside of, well, out of daruri. Iyadatul marid isn't a daruriyat. Visiting the,
visiting the sick is a worship.
No, but it's not daruri. It's not from the daruriyat. It's not even from the hajiyat. It's not even from the hajiyat.
I'm saying worship. Iyadatul marid is worship.
Yeah, but it's not from the hajiyat.
No, but what I'm saying to you is, you're saying, for example, leisure.
Yeah, like,
what do you mean by leisure?
Yeah, I mean, how would you describe, even if it's like, let's say a woman wants to go for a walk, right? Now, you bring me fatawa of the ulama, beginning with Imam Malik, coming down through to the madhab, saying that a woman wanting to go for a walk is haram. You bring that to me with some names of solid ulama of this madhab, coming down, beginning with the imam, coming right down.
Here's another thing. Everything that we have in terms of the bust of the madhab, like the bust of the madhab, you're going to, from the imam all the way down, which means if we're talking about from the imam all the way down, then we're also going to have things in the madhab that don't show up.
No, but the thing is, we have principles for all of these things laid out, like al-asl fil ashya al-ibaha. We have the guidance from the Quran and Sunnah explaining things. Now, if you don't have a ruling, like let's say ulama haven't spoken about this, but we see this used to casually happen in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. We see it used to casually happen even after. Right now, the question is, well, okay, so where does it say it's prohibited? Because you know that it's supported by the Quran and Sunnah. It's actually supported by the overwhelming qata'i principle that al-asl fil ashya al-ibaha. Now, unless you can bring clear, conclusive evidences and fatwa of like the ulama stating this.
Like when you're saying ulama, you're referring to...
Let's say begin with Imam Malik and coming down.
Okay, what I'm saying is, for example...
So Imam Malik, here's a question. Can a woman go out for a walk? Right, now, if you bring me fatwa from beginning with the Imam, coming down, right, ulama that have said it's haram for her to go out. And I will then look into this matter like, oh, right, okay, now we've got a problem. Right now, there is nothing to say that is haram. A woman can go out for a walk. If she wants to go out for a walk, she can go out for a walk. There is nothing.
So what I mean now is, when you're saying from Imam Malik, you're negating, like, okay, let's say for
Let's
example,
bring
you
it
don't
from the
find-
Imam. You bring it from any of the mutun. Bring it from any of the students. I'm not suggesting Ibn al-Qasim. You bring it from any of the riwayat. You bring it from the dons of the madhab. Okay, Qadi Ismail. You bring it from people like, what is it, Ibn al-Labbad. You bring it from people like Ibn Zurb, Ibn Abi Zayd. You bring it from people like, you name them, Abdul Wahhab al-Baghdadi, al-Laythi, whoever you want to take it to. You bring it further down, whether it's going to be Ibn Abd al-Bar or Qadi Iyad or coming down. Then we're going to have to investigate what seems to be going on. Right now, this is just a da'wah mujarrada عن الدليل الشرعي. I mean, from the Quran and Sunnah, dalilun fiqhi. It's like it does.
So you're saying, so you're saying that, for example, what am I thinking? So you're saying that the basis of this fatwa is on the usul principle of al-ibaha, al-asl ibaha. Meaning, in other words, there's no nusus for against it. In other words, meaning from the madhab.
Not just that. The fact that, you see, first of all, we have qata'i principles like that. Secondly, we have clear guidance demonstrated by the Prophet ﷺ and the Salaf that this was the general norm, that this used to take place. So we now have clear guidance on this matter. The thing is now, if you're going to oppose that, if you're going to oppose it, then...
general principles.
Yeah, if you're going to oppose it, then okay, let's... well, if you're going to say, look, listen, okay, I don't want to just go direct to the hadith. I want to take it from the madhab. As in, I want only clear fatwa from the madhab. Then okay, bring these clear fatwa. Beginning with the imam, coming down, bring them. Where they have said, and in response to this question, that can a woman go for a walk? Because she wants to go for a walk, that no, it's haram.
Okay, can a woman go for
a walk? Okay. And if any of these ulama, beginning with Imam Malik or the top dons...
Okay, but remember, again, you keep saying beginning with Imam Malik. Not everything is mansus alayhi for Imam Malik. So sometimes...
Yeah, but then, okay, then...
No, wait. Sometimes you have the mujtahid in the madhab who we mentioned in our books.
Yeah.
Then in the case where Imam Malik doesn't have a nas,
yeah.
And then those mujtahids in the madhab base a nas off the usul of Imam Malik because they're qualified to do that.
And then what we will look at... We will look at this mas'ala in the sense of, if, let's say, you just say, oh, by the way, I admit, let's just say, if you do come up with a fatwa, which, firstly, I don't think you will be able to find a fatwa for can a woman go for a walk? No, she can't, it's haram. But let's say you did, and you said, oh, by the way, here's a fatwa said by Sheikh, let's just say a random Sheikh like Sheikh Zarhuni, right? He gave this fatwa. Now, if it's a person and it's not clearly documented throughout the madhab, it's just a scholar has said this, we will investigate. Okay, we'll accept it. It's admissible, and we will investigate it, and we'll investigate the stances which come against it.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that because Rahuni is from the mutaakhirin.
Yeah.
Anything that comes from the mutaakhirin's got to be mansus alayhi.
Okay. I mean, or let's say even if it's from... The point is that if you do bring a fatwa, okay, well then at that stage, we'll, okay, take a look at it and then we'll explore it in contrast with what other people that have challenged it. And then we'll see where we stand. Because right now there is no fatwa like this, so that we're discussing anyway. So there's no fatwa that we're discussing. So there's no point just hypothetically suggesting things. So if we have a fatwa, then we can contrast it with contrasting opinions.
All right. Have you come across the mas'ala, the ikhtilaf between the ulama and Andalusi and Mi'yar al-Mu'rab concerning the imam who allows his wife to go out uncovered?
Right. The imam who allows his wife to go out uncovered. Okay. I mean, refer me to it, inshallah. Give me the reference for it, and I'll take a look at it. I've got the
the short gist of the mas'ala is, you know, in our madhab is it comes in al-aziyah that there's a difference of opinion whether or not it's permissible to pray behind a fasik or not. That's one of our. But the sound opinion is that you can.
Yeah.
Right. We don't say that fisk is that. Although it's an opinion from Imam Malik, it's not relied upon.
Sheikh, can I be ever so, you know what, astasmihuk, I've got to actually get to a radio show, right? And I'm actually running a bit late for it already. It's just I really want to kind of talk to you. It's the first time I was kind of talking to you, so I thought, well, it'd be a pleasure to really spend a bit of time. I'm just going to actually have to phone them now to tell them just hold, like play something whilst I get there. And can we continue, inshallah? We'll do that.
What kind of camera are you using?
I'm just using a HD, what is it? It's a Microsoft one. Live Cam, I think it's called.
Oh, I got one. It looks a bit clearer than what I got.
Okay, this is
Okay,
live cam. All right, Sheikh. So, inshallah,
don't let me tie you up. We'll talk again, though,
inshallah. Remember me in your kind dua, Sheikh. It's been a pleasure speaking, subhanAllah.
Okay, I'll catch up with you, inshallah.
All right, take care now. Assalamu alaikum.